Most people look at the Nissan Xterra and see an ugly, clunky, old-school box that never learned how to dress itself. That is exactly why this thing stays cheaper than it should. Owners who buy the right years keep them for years. Owners who buy the wrong early automatics learn a very painful lesson. Nissan Xterra. The SUV here is the second-generation Nissan Xterra, sold from 2005 through 2015. This is not a soft grocery-run crossover pretending to be outdoorsy. It sits closer to a Frontier than a Rogue. This is a real truck-based SUV with a body-on-frame layout, a 4.0-liter V6, a 5-speed automatic on most trucks, and a 6-speed manual on certain 4-wheel drive S and Puro 4X models. Nissan kept the formula simple for the entire run, and that matters. While others chased smoother crossovers, the Xterra stayed tough, basic, and easy to understand. That is why the late ones still make so much sense for buyers who care more about USE, traction, and long-term ownership than they do about looking polished in a parking lot. Why it looks wrong, and prices are wrong. The Xterra gets punished for 3 obvious reasons. First, the styling is weird, bulky, and almost stubborn. The stepped roof, swollen fenders, odd rear quarter glass, and chunky outdoor gear vibe make it look more like equipment than transportation. Second, the cabin feels loud, stiff, and dated. Reviews complained about interior noise, rougher road manners, and materials that never felt upscale, especially next to smoother choices like a Pilot or Grand Cherokee. Third, the fuel economy is bad by crossover standards. A late Xterra 4-wheel drive is around 15 city and 20 highway, and buyers who shop with a spreadsheet hate that instantly. But here is the market mistake. Those flaws scare away casual shoppers, image buyers, and people who only compare screens and cup holders. That leaves the Xterra sitting below prettier SUVs, even though it gives you real truck bones, real utility, and a much tougher ownership story than a lot of smoother-looking crossovers in the same money. Buyers pay more for curved sheet metal, softer dashboards, and badge comfort, while the Xterra keeps offering usable ground clearance, honest heft, and a cabin you do not have to baby. If this kind of straight, honest used car truth helps you dodge nonsense, subscribe, because the next part separates the right years from the costly mistakes. Why it is actually a goldmine. The Xterra becomes a secret goldmine when you stop judging it like a fashion item and start judging it like a tool. First, it kept the 4.0-liter V6 and conventional transmissions instead of moving to tiny turbo engines, fragile complexity, or some buzzy fake SUV setup. That V6 made 261 horsepower and 281 pound-feet, which is plenty for real daily use. Second, it is genuinely useful. A properly equipped late truck can tow up to 5,000 pounds, gives you about 36.3 cubic feet behind the second row, and opens up to about 65.7 cubic feet with the seats folded. That means camping gear, home improvement runs, bikes, coolers, and dirty tools fit without drama. Third, it has a stronger value floor than people expect. Kelley Blue Book still shows a 2015 Xterra S around $11,850 in private party value, which tells you clean late trucks do not just collapse into throwaway territory. Fourth, it shares a lot of common Nissan truck logic, which makes the platform easier to shop than some complicated luxury SUV with air suspension, mystery electronics, and pricey trim-only parts. The Xterra is not magic. It is just simple enough, strong enough, and useful enough that the right one still earns its keep long after prettier SUVs have started feeling cheap. It also avoids the fake luxury trap. There is no air suspension to age badly, no overloaded touchscreen stack to frustrate you, and no premium brand tax on repairs once the warranty is gone. Best years to buy. The buy zone is 2011 through 2015, and the sweet spot is really 2012 through 2015. Those late trucks keep the same hardware people actually want, but they sit outside Nissan's radiator warranty extension window for the 2005 through 2010 trucks, and they sit outside the timing chain bulletin window that also hit the early run. If I were spending my own money, I would start with an S four-wheel drive, an X four-wheel drive, or a Pro 4X if the price is fair and the service history is calm. The late trucks still ride like trucks, drink fuel like trucks, and look a little goofy, but that is why they stay attainable. There is one nuance here. If you find an early manual transmission Xterra with proof the timing chain issue was handled, proof the cooling system story is clean, and proof the owner was not a clown, it can still be worth a look. But that is not the safe recommendation for most buyers. The late trucks are easier to recommend to normal people because you are buying a clearer story, not gambling on a discounted headache. The cheap early ones are where people get baited, and that is where the repair trap starts. Years to avoid. The main danger zone is 2005 through 2010 automatic Xterras, and this is where buyers get hurt by fake bargains. Nissan extended warranty coverage on the radiator assembly for those trucks because an internal crack in the radiator oil cooler tube could let engine coolant mix with transmission fluid. Once that happens, the automatic can get contaminated and die. That is the infamous milkshake problem, and it is real. Then you add the second issue. Nissan also issued a bulletin on 2005 through 2010 Xterras for a buzzing or whining noise from the timing chain area, which required replacing both secondary timing chains and both secondary tensioner shoes. Now add the money part. A federal complaint summary tied to the radiator and transmission issue referenced a repair of around $4,500. Kelley Blue Book's repair pricing for a 2010 Xterra shows transmission replacement running roughly $6,445 to $6,931, and RepairPal puts a timing chain tensioner repair around $931 to $1,364. That is how a cheap-looking deal turns into a very expensive mistake. Buyers see a low asking price and think they found a steal. What they really found is a truck that can hand them one huge bill before the first oil change even matters. Real price ranges right now. As of April 18th, 2026, the late Xterra still sits in a very interesting price pocket. Rougher or higher mileage late trucks usually live around $8,000 to $10,500. Current listings back that up with examples like a 2015 S with 163,000 miles at $8,999, and other worn late trucks showing up around that same working band. Cleaner trucks and better trims move into the $15,000 to $19,000 zone, with especially nice late PRO 4X examples stretching higher. Current listings show a 2015 Puro Forts with 70,000 miles around $18,550, and another at 100,000 miles around $16,000, while Car Gurus shows the 2015 Puro 4X averaging a little above $15,000, with higher asks pushing well past $20,000. That is still real money, but compared with the Toyota 4Runner tax, the Xterra stays the quieter, smarter play if you buy condition first. If year-by-year buying rules like this save you from expensive cheap deals, subscribe. We protect budgets before sellers turn mistakes into stories and expensive regrets. Buyer checklist. Here's the fast garage checklist I would use before handing over cash for any Xterra. Start with a cold start and listen carefully for timing chain whine or a high-pitched buzz from the front of the engine. Then do a full warm-up drive and watch the automatic. Any slip, flare, lazy engagement, or weird shift behavior is bad news. If it is an early automatic, ask directly whether the radiator was replaced or whether the transmission cooler was bypassed. Do not dance around it. Check coolant and transmission fluid condition, and walk if you see pink milkshake contamination or anything that looks mixed. Look around the valve covers and lower engine area for seepage and leaks. Test the four-wheel drive system on gravel, dirt, or another safe low-speed surface and make sure it actually engages cleanly. Crawl underneath and inspect the frame, rear suspension mounts, cross members, and rusty hardware, because a crusty salt-state Xterra can rot underneath while still looking decent up top. Check shocks, bushings, front-end clunks, and general suspension wear, because these age like real trucks, not car-based crossovers. Ask for cooling system records, hose work, radiator history, and normal service receipts. Then read the owner's story. I do not want speeches. I want paperwork. Hard walkaway rules are simple. Walk away if the seller shrugs at a whining timing chain sound. Walk away if the automatic acts strangely once fully warm. Walk away if the fluids look cross-contaminated. Walk away if the frame looks rotted. And walk away if the seller gets cute when you ask direct questions. Because clean Xterras do not need sketchy explanations. On the test drive, also check for vibration at highway speed, because old tires and worn front-end parts can hide underneath a truck that still feels strong off the line. Verify the rear hatch works smoothly, the roof rack hardware is solid, and the spare tire tools are actually there. Small missing stuff is not a deal breaker, but it tells you whether the owner was careful, organized, and honest about the rest of the truck. Who it fits and who should pass. The Xterra is perfect for the buyer who wants real winter traction, real cargo usefulness, real weekend utility, and does not care about impressing anybody. It makes sense for snow state guys, budget-minded families, hikers, fishermen, dog owners, campers, and people who tow a small trailer, motorcycles, or a light camper without stepping all the way up to a Tahoe. It also works for commuters who want a tougher SUV and can live with the trade-offs. But let me be blunt about who should skip it. If you want a luxury, quiet, soft crossover ride, modern fuel economy, or a rich interior like a Highlander, this is not your truck. If your spouse hates heavy doors, truck manners, and old-school ergonomics, this is not your truck. And if you secretly want a 4Runner but are trying to talk yourself into an Xterra for the wrong reasons, slow down. The Xterra wins on value, not on polish. Think of it as the budget tool that still does truck things well, not the family crossover that happens to wear all-terrain tires. Why it stays a secret. The reason the Xterra still feels like a secret goldmine is simple. The market judged it like a style object, when it should have judged it like a piece of equipment. It is not pretty. It is not efficient. It is not plush. But the late trucks give you body-on-frame hardware, proven utility, real towing, honest four-wheel drive, and a price that still sits under shinier rivals. That is the whole lesson here. Buyers got distracted by looks, fuel numbers, and badge bias. Meanwhile, practical owners kept buying the right years and quietly holding on to them. That is not hype. That is what undervaluation looks like when the market gets emotional and smart buyers stay calm, practical, and patient. If you spend your own money carefully and want used SUV advice without sales fluff, subscribe. This channel is for buyers who want truth before overpaying. Click the next video, because the Xterra is not the only ugly bargain the market priced wrong. Another laughed-at SUV keeps turning into cheap, long-term value for patient buyers.